Good morning. Matt Lay with Lay Brothers Consulting here with our third video installment of the series Management Reminders. This series is meant mainly for first-time managers to help give some helpful concepts to think about and reflect on as you're looking at what does it mean to take on this role of management. Today we're going to be discussing the topic of a new measure of success. And what this is kind of an extension of our first video where we discussed the different ways that individual contributors and managers bring value to an organization. As an individual contributor, usually your value is a direct add to what the company or organization is doing. And so when it comes to finding out how to measure success for the position, it's normally pretty easy to say, okay, well, here is the scope of the work that the position does. Here is the task or tasks that they are meant to accomplish, the goals and expectations of how many of those are supposed to be done in whatever time frame, find ways of collecting that data, and then track it. And so now you have key performance indicators or accountabilities that help the person in the role know, at least from a what perspective, they're supposed to do and how successful they are at doing that. When you move into management, there ends up being kind of an extension of this first type of measure of success and then another layer on top of it, because as a manager you're now responsible not just for a team or in a sense a position, but also people that are reporting to you. And so from the position standpoint, it's in a sense an aggregate of the individual contributor's measure of success. So if you as an individual contributor are making widgets on a production line, you might have a measure of success of need to make 50 widgets per week or per day. Then as a manager of that role, if you have 50 people doing the same work, it might be that, okay, well, really what the goal is that I have a daily goal of 250 widgets that need to be made. I have 5 people doing the work, so the goal is 50 widgets per person to meet the goal. And so that's in a sense an aggregate of or a direct connection to the success factors or measures of success for the individual contributors that report to you. And so in that way you have a oversight of what are kind of aggregate team goals or success. And so you have to make sure that the team is now hitting or continues to hit the 250 widgets per day. And so you can be measured on making sure your team is hitting its goal. But you also are overseeing not just positions, but people. And so when you're looking at what are the measures of success for oversight of people, it becomes a little bit harder to measure because it's not necessarily directly measurable. It's more of a long-term piece answering the questions of how well do they understand the work that they're doing? Do they know how it connects to other parts of the business? What are the relationships between your department and other departments? Are you finding good efficiency opportunities for the people to grow? Are they growing in their skill sets? And even longer term, what does their career path look like? Are they continuing to grow within the business and the organization? Do they find themselves more deeply connected to that organization, finding fulfillment in the work that they do? And so why that's important to kind of hold both of those in your mind as you're thinking about success as a manager is, let's say that same scenario, you have 250 widgets a day is the goal. Now all of a sudden the business is growing. You are presented with, we need to hit 300 widgets per day. Okay, you still have 5 people. Now you have, in a sense, a management decision from a position perspective of success. Do I now increase everyone's goal to 60 widgets per day? Do I need to look into hiring a 6th person to continue to meet the goal because 50 is really truly the stretch limit for the work that's being expected to create these widgets? Or what happens a lot of the time, or is a dangerous sort of pitfall of hitting this success factor in management, is normally as a first-time manager, you've done the job that you're overseeing. And so you say, well, I could probably hit 30 or 40 widgets myself if I just jump on the line and I help do the work. And I can increase everyone's output by 5 widgets to 55, and I'm going to cover the extra 30. That's that's great. Now you've met the team goal without having to hire more people, which from a company organizational perspective is usually seen as successful. But the danger of that is now you are, as we talked about in the first video, you are now taking a good portion of your time to be focusing on individual contributor work to help the team meet its goal at potentially the detriment of the other aspect of your success as a manager, which is the people side and developing your individuals and helping them grow in their career pathing and their ability to create value for the company. And the danger of it is that immediacy of helping hit the numbers is much more gratifying and easier to point to as a success factor and say, we made the numbers because I rolled up my sleeves and I got in the weeds and I helped. And while that it should always be a part of any person in a company's skill set and disposition to say, I'm willing to jump in and help when needed, if you continue to do that too often, you, in a sense, become another individual contributor, and you're not helping your team grow. You're not helping your team have a better understanding of what they do and more efficient ways of doing it. You're not helping the individuals on your team to grow in their career paths, to understand what those career paths are, what are their goals, their hopes, their dreams, and how are you helping meet both the needs of the position and the needs of the person, and finding opportunities to connect those two. And so as you're moving into management, finding ways of either asking yourself the question, how am I holding both the position and the people when I'm thinking about success, taking it to your manager and saying, can we review this as part of our weekly one-on-ones or quarterly reviews to say, how are we making sure that I'm growing in this management skill set to help my team to grow? So hopefully that's a helpful concept. Within management, we think it's an important distinction and piece to hold in mind that as a manager, your measure of success should be both the aggregation of the individual contributors' measure of success, your team goals, but also the growth of the individuals that work for you, their sense of fulfillment, their ability to grow in skills and advance their careers. I'd be curious to hear from other managers that have dealt with this in the past. Like, how have you found ways to hold those two together? What tools have you used to make sure you're meeting both the needs of the position, success from within the business scope, and then the needs of the people to make sure that they're finding their fulfillment, clarity of work, and growth in their career path? Outside of that, any questions or comments? Would love to keep the conversation going below. Or if you need to contact me at the end of the video, you have my email. Hope you have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.